Hello, I'm Deborah Stefaniak and I'm the author of this blog. And it occurred to me as I looked at my Facebook page the other day how many entries I had for Michael Jackson and how it might appear to someone just coming upon my Facebook thinking that why are these entries for Michael Jackson all over the place. Well, I wanted to preface this. I wanted to let you know as someone visiting the blog why I even started the blog, who I am, and what the story behind this is. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Deborah Stefaniak. I have a background in accounting. I have a background in computers. I've been a programmer. I've had a professional career for most of my life. I'm an entrepreneur and an author. I'm also a yoga instructor, and I'm into self-help quite a bit. I read a lot of self-help books and into spirituality. I've been a medium all my life, which means I've spoken with people on the other side. I've given psychic readings. I've been psychic all my life, and I'm also a student of Ascension, which means I like to find out about new avenues and explore the fields of consciousness. That said, what led me to my whole life path and the exploration of consciousness and psychic abilities has partly to do with Michael Jackson. When I was a young girl, I thought I had an imaginary friend, and turned out that imaginary friend had me meet him one day at a specified location, and that imaginary friend turned out to be Michael Jackson. And it was a spiritual connection that we shared, that we seemed to be able to link up really easily. I would get visions of Michael during the day, what he was doing, simple things even, if he was sitting on a plane or in his house doing things or playing with children. And so it happened for a long time. And then I kind of thought for a long time, because I had picked up on other things, that it was just because I was psychic. I was picking up on him. Just because I was psychic and because he was so well known, maybe he was kind of just out there and it was easy for me to pick up on him. So in 1993, when Michael was accused of child molestation, I watched the news quite often and I began to get scared. I thought that, like a woman that was in the movies connected to a killer, I was connected to a child molester, because of what they were reporting. And I didn't know any different. There was so much evidence on the news, so many things that made you believe that he was, that I believed it until, because I was connected with him so much, I asked him straight out, and I got this immediate response, not necessarily in words, but it was like he was running through me. And it was one of those moments where you just, it was a knowing, is what I call it, is a knowing that he didn't do it. And so that was kind of my first glimpse to find out how the news reported things that weren't necessarily true, and how he couldn't possibly had done what they were saying that he did. So this happened all my life. So needless to say, when he died, I thought that maybe this connection would die with him. I thought maybe after he passed that the connection with him would pass as well. Maybe after I died that, you know, we would meet up somewhere in heaven, or I'm not sure exactly what I thought, but I thought it would stop. And I was very surprised that it didn't. After he passed, I reviewed some of his past lives. It was like I was him, and it was kind of like a movie projector going off in my head. As I was walking through my foyer one day, it was very spontaneous. And again, I thought at that moment it was done. He was passed, he was gone. And a couple days later, he appeared to me, and we talked for a little while, and I asked him what happened, because I think in the news they weren't really sure what happened, and I asked what happened, and he said, someone gave me a shot, everything went black, but I didn't kill myself. And I thought that was kind of strange, but I had received visions of him during his lifetime. I had seen him shoot a needle in his arm. I knew he had dependencies with drugs, so I figured it had to have been something to do with that. And he just wanted me to know that it wasn't his fault. It wasn't anything that he did. And then something interesting happened. The Conrad Murray trial came up, And they were trying to say that he killed himself, that Michael Jackson killed himself, that he OD'd, that he gave himself the shot. And I knew in an instant the details that Michael did leave out, and that was that he didn't do it because someone else murdered him. And so I started the blog. I figured no one else knew, and I knew this information. I wouldn't have believed it if I was not in the position that I was. I would have thought that it was a mistake, that it was an overdose. That's the way that they made it look. It seems logical if he had a problem with drugs or had been taking them, but it wasn't. It was murder. So I started the blog to get the truth out there. And that's why the blog started at the inception of the Conrad Murray trial. After I started the blog, and after that trial, not long after that, Elizabeth Taylor passed. And Elizabeth was a good friend of Michael's. And I can feel them right now. It's kind of strange. But anyway, she had been close to him all of his life. And I never met her, never felt like a certain connection to her. I never saw her. Well, I guess I did see her in visions, but I never saw her the way that I saw Michael. I never got psychic information about her, that kind of thing. But I always wanted to meet her because I had heard that they were such close friends. She was there for him all the time. She always came to his defense. She even said, like, one of the child molestation trials that he was in, that she knew he wasn't guilty because she knew his soul, which I thought was very interesting. And I thought, well, what kind of connection did they have together? So when she passed, I was very surprised that she also came to me and thanked her for the relationship that she had with Michael, for being there for him when he needed someone. And I made notes here because she said something that jarred me. Up until this point in 2009 when Michael passed and all this had happened, I kind of figured I wanted to kind of ignore him. I wanted him to go on the other side, and part of me felt like I was holding him here, that I was responsible for holding him here. So I kept saying, you gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. But when Elizabeth died, she said something interesting. She said, Michael, she was talking to him, and she said, Michael, you have to tell her why you're here. And I thought, well, what is she talking about? And she said the things that they did to him were terrible, just terrible. And my stomach did a backflip because I knew that there was more to the story, and probably more, and I know even now, even more than I would like to know, more than I would like to see or feel or experience with him. But since then, it's been obvious to me that he's been murdered. Since I know that there's other people that know also that he's been murdered, I want to get the record straight that he's been murdered. This blog will be used for that information about his murder and who he was, because he's not the man that they're portraying him to be. He was not gay. He wasn't what a lot of people say about him. So since then, we've been working on the Man in the Mirror project in the efforts to heal the world. That's why I changed the name of the blog. But I keep going back and forth, and so I have to tell you that there's still, although we plan on continuing and expanding Man in the Mirror project, I still have an overbearing need to complete the life of Michael Jackson, complete and get closure for him for what's happened. Since he's passed, our consciousnesses have continued to merge, and it's something that I really can't explain, except it's part of like your higher self that merges with other people. And sometimes when you're closer, you resonate frequencies, they merge more. You become part of one another, even though we're part of all part of one another. And ironically and interestingly enough, I have been able to glimpse pieces of his heaven on the other side, and by that I mean the same way that I would get glimpses of his life while he was here on earth during the day, I get glimpses of where he's at on the other side, sometimes during the day or sometimes at night while I'm sleeping, which I find is absolutely fascinating, because the life that I see him living, I've never seen before, never really believed in before. I believed afterlife, obviously, because I had talked to people on the other side, but you know, you can explain to somebody how something looks, but until you actually see it for yourself, it's just an experience. So the consciousness has been merging, and Michael has always been the kind of person that he's kind of a man of very few words. If there's something that he's really, really concerned about, you might know about it. But other than that, he never would give details, never wanted anyone to worry about him, never gave details about what he think that you would worry about. He was more protective of everyone else more than he was himself. So because the consciousness, because we've been still linked, I get flashbacks sometimes of what's happened to him. And I have been getting flashbacks of what happened to him the night that he was murdered. And I can tell you he was drugged, and I can tell you there were more people in his room than a Dr. Murray or any kind of doctor. So I will continue to vindicate the death of Michael Jackson, and I'm not going anywhere. I know that there are people that have written me emails stating that Michael's passed and it was an accident and all these flowery little blogs, but I can tell you for a fact, and you know what, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't completely sure of my connection to him. I mean, I've talked to other people that have passed. I wouldn't be here if I just met him on the other side and he said that he was murdered. I would be like, okay, yeah, that sucks, but you know what? You got to go on. This isn't like that with him. Whatever happened to him happened to me too. So it's he jumps, I jump. So I'm not going anywhere, and no one can tell me otherwise because I already know what happened, that they think that he's fine and it was an accident. Sorry, but you don't know. I do know, because I've experienced it with him. So it's simple, really. Michael is very concerned about his family and his children. As a matter of fact, he's with them quite often. I know that there are women out there that think he's going around telling everyone that he's their twin flame or having love affairs. That's not the case. Even when Michael lived, it would take a whole hell of a lot for him to go up to a woman to even approach them, let alone for him to pass and then go up to a woman and start a love affair. Sorry, that's just not happening. In summary, I just wanted to let you know that I'll be using this blog for Michael's intent, if he has any messages that he wants to get out, and for my interests. And that's, one, to clear the air about his murder, and for two, to help people heal themselves so we can help heal the world, something that he was starting to do and continuing to do before his life was taken. His family has been broken. His life has been taken from him. And we have unfinished business that we have to continue with. The greatest lesson from this death is that there's too many people that act like we shouldn't be bothered. We shouldn't be bothered with somebody that's been murdered. We shouldn't be bothered with somebody that's starving in Africa. And that's the atrocity of it. The earth is here for us to care for. Our children, the people around the world, we're here to care for them, to care for one another, and to not leave each other to fend for ourselves. Even on the other side, there's people that need our help. We leave far too many people lonely and in need of human compassion, or just without the means just even to be provided for. The despicable, and I mean despicable, treatment that Michael endured during his life and now at the end is testament to our sickness. How can a world so cold treat someone so full of love the way Michael Jackson was treated? And by that I mean he was the one person that went out of his way to give proceeds from tours, complete tours, for months at a time without taking a penny and giving it to charity. Are we so blind to think that any amount of money, and I think you know who you are, will buy happiness, our blessed eternity, or think that others won't find out what has been done behind closed doors, or that it won't be seen? I assure you that personally I will vindicate the death of Michael Jackson, and I assure you that I am confident that He will tell me what and when I need to know and say what needs to be known at the time it needs to be said. And yes, I am confident, once again, that he was murdered, and yes, I am confident that he will give that information. I ask that you, as a blog reader, sign the petition linked here on the blog from very special people that have been working for Michael's murder as well, and for the justice of it. Team Michael Jackson, I know. Taj Malik has been very instrumental in getting information out there. But there is a petition that's linked to this blog that links to a site where you can sign for a petition to ask for a federal investigation into the death of Michael Jackson. We're not talking about one or two people here that were involved in his murder. He was worth billions of dollars and had a lot of assets to be had that are being used right now for other purposes for other people. And I do ask you not to judge and treat others the way Michael was treated, not to label them before you know them, and not to believe everything that you hear in the news without questioning what the truth is, and to begin healing yourself so you can help heal the world. And see if I have anything else that I wanted to say, because I do know how crazy sometimes when I started this blog, I started it out as a twin soul story, and you know, some people, including myself probably, if I came upon it, I'd say, who's this and what is this girl all about? But I only did that because I wanted to explain the connection that we did have. I wanted people to know that it was the truth, that I did know he was murdered. So since then, it doesn't matter to me whether you think I was his twin soul or not. The fact remains is we had some kind of this connection that was happening before, that's still happening now. The fact is that he was murdered. The fact is people should not treat people the way that they treated Michael Jackson. The fact is we need to change the way that we treat each other, because the way that they treated him ended up in his murder. And if we continue, it's not going to get better for any one of us. And I don't want to live in a world like that. I don't know about you, but we need to change things. So we're going to change things with Man in the Mirror Project, but at the same time, we do need to get the truth out there about his murder. I feel a lot of people are really missing him. He was very instrumental in changing a lot of things on this earth, and now we have to all make up for everything that we're missing with him. So thank you for visiting. Please sign the petition, and I hope you continue with us on our journey for Man in the Mirror Project. Thank you.